Crazy Penguin teaches you Linux. NickSnoob.com.
Welcome to Nick's Noob. This video is a follow-up video on the Flashforge Adventurer 5M Pro printer that I bought not too long ago. And I just wanted to make a follow-up video now that I've had some time to use the printer and show you some example prints. I've been really happy with the printer. My favorite parts about it are the replaceable nozzles. And I replace nozzles all the time. This is a 0.25 millimeter, which is great for getting really fine detail, but going to take a lot longer to print, and it's not going to be as strong of a part just because the smaller layer lines. I mean, it depends. If you print pretty hot and make the part thick, it'll print strong parts. It'll just take a lot longer time. Yeah, I mean a lot longer to print. It does really fine detail. And this is a 0.4 millimeter, and that's almost twice as thick as the other one. And then I have a 0.6, and they also have a 0.8 available. So depending on what you're printing, you can just swap the nozzle out and print quick prototypes, etc. Some of the things I really like about the printer are that it doesn't lock you in. There's no vendor lock-in. The Flashforge comes with a flash print, I think is the name of their slicer. And that they have a Linux version available. I'm just running the Windows version on Linux via Wine, and that works perfectly fine. I can connect to the printer. I can send prints remotely to the printer over Wi-Fi. I can watch the printer with the camera, connect to it. But the printer also is available just via HTTP connection. So I've just got an icon on my desktop, and this just launches Chrome and web app mode. And so I'm printing right now. Oh, let me move out of the way there so you can see that. So no software required to do that. You can, and that's going to work with any operating system. So to be able to monitor your prints over HTTP is really nice. I really like that feature. And in case you're wondering on how to do this, if I right click and go to properties on this desktop icon, like I've shown in other videos where you can just make magic desktop icons and drag stuff to it. This is just running Chrome with -- app for the arguments. If you do a -- app equals, then you can basically have it open in kiosk mode or app mode. It just doesn't give you all your task, your bookmarks bars or URL bars or anything like that. So just app equals, and then so for the printer, it's just the IP address on port 8080. So IP address :8080 / action equals stream. And I could just open that in a regular, browser as well. So if I just pop this in here, we can just open it in a browser. So I really like that feature. And all this icon is doing is just the same as what we just did, but without the URL bar or any of that. Okay, so I'm already getting way off on a tangent. This I will be all over the place. If you're looking to buy a printer, right now they are on sale 35% off on Amazon, and I will leave an affiliate link in the show notes. So if you click on that, you're helping support the channel. It doesn't cost you anymore, and you're getting the exact printer that I'm recommending, but so the Flashforge Adventurer 5M Pro, I have been very happy with. So let me show you some prints I've done with that. I printed a brick mold and made some bricks. And then when I was laying the bricks out, spacing them evenly and getting them perfectly level with each other was very tricky. So I ended up making these little guys here. And this is printed with the 0.6 millimeter nozzle, and this has no top or bottom layers, so you actually see the infill. and I wanted the infill to be exposed because I was going to pour cement around this, so I wanted it to go in all the holes. So this has a little hex nut on the bottom, and this is just a spacer. And having a 3D printer for things like spacers, you can just make it whatever space you need, so it's very handy. If you buy spacers, typically they're this size, that size, turn them over, they're that size. With a 3D printer, you can just print them exactly whatever size you want, which is fantastic. And this doesn't exist. I invented this part, this brick mold. Basically, I've got a little foot that goes on the end, a hex nut goes in the bottom, and then this is designed where you put your brick on top of this and it spaces them out, kind of put these in the corners. And then you can just, once you get all your bricks in, you can just put a board over top and just screw this nut and it's going to raise them up until you get them all level. Then you pour in your mortar and then remove the screw completely and then mortar over the top and just leave the spacers down in there. So that's cool. That doesn't exist. I printed like 50 of these. And after I was all done assembling the hardware and had 50 of them, I was just blown away by like, yeah, that doesn't exist. I just made that. I'm going to use that on this project. It's just super cool. So for Halloween, I modeled in Blender a spider, and this is glow in the dark. And so if you see any little fuzzy lines on this, we had these hanging in fake spider web on our front lawn and had UV lights on them so that they would glow really bright. So super fun. Also printed a squishy version out of TPU. So this is all, squishy. So there's that guy. And then for small details, like I've been amazed at the detail you can get. Also, I wanted to touch base on multicolor printing. So there's all these different, like that's kind of the thing going on with 3D printers right now is if they do multicolor and how they do multicolor. Like you've got printers that'll automatically change the filament by cutting it, and then they have to purge the filament that's in there. So they squirt a little bit of that out and then load the new filament and then have to purge a little bit of that. So you end up with all this wasted filament. And so now you've got 3D printers that have multiple print heads where the filament just stays in there. It's already purged. So it just grabs the different print head and then starts printing with it. I think it still needs to do a little wipe to heat it up and get rid of any, plastic, but way less waste. But this is a little charm thing that I printed with the 0.25 millimeter nozzle, and the detail is incredible. Like the lines, I don't know how well that's coming across, but the detail is just fantastic. So this is glow in the dark with kind of, I think it's called like burnt titanium or something like that, which is like a bluish that's got some glitter in it. But the details are just crazy. So this is multicolor, and you can print 50 of these with no waste or whatever, however many you can fit on your build plate. All you have to do is in your slicer, put a stop layer, and that'll pause it. And then you can, with the Flashforge anyway, you can change the filament and then go back to home and hit resume. So as long as you're doing it where you're doing layers and then change, color change, you can do multicolor prints without a multicolor printer with the zero waste. And if I'm printing 50 of these, I only have to do that once. If I'm doing 10 of them, I have to do it once. So, not a lot of fun if you're doing one part and doing 3 colors and have to change 3 times. But if you're doing, 50 of them, having to change the color 3 times for 50 parts is not bad at all and zero waste. So, depending on how you want to use multicolor, you might not even need a multicolor printer. But Flashforge has some multicolor printers available. And I'm not a Flashforge fanboy. Like, I got the Flashforge mostly because of the price, and I've been really happy with it. And I like that there's no vendor lock-in. Um, but other than that, I have really no 3D experience. So I have nothing bad to say about Bamboo, nothing bad to say about Prusa. Um, so let me just show you some more 3D parts. And if you're interested, so these are just hoops, and let me get where you can see the layer lines, maybe. Can't quite get that to focus where you can see the layer lines. There are very tiny layer lines. And then if you want to get rid of those, depending on what you're printing, you can do fuzzy print. Well, there's a couple options. You can do fuzzy skin, which will kind of do, it ends up looking kind of like hammered metal, depending on how big you make it. But it just gives it a nice texture, and that completely hides your layer lines. Um, Here is a glow in the dark Texas with a long horn in the middle. So just fantastic. Um, Here is a barcode, and this will actually scan, but if you go to this website, it's not, I don't know if it'll scan from, well, that would probably scan. That's earlier I was getting shadows because it is rays. That's how I get the two color. So I have to, oh, come on, focus. There we go. So you can see that it's raised earlier. I was getting shadows. So I'm trying to get in where you can see the layer lines on that bottom surface. It was focusing pretty good there for a second. And you can't see, there are layer lines, but they're so perfect geometrically, like crisscross lines, that it looks really good. But if you wanted to also not get layer lines, you could print upside down, and the back is going to be the texture of your build plate. And you can get build plates with different textures. So you could also do that if were wanting to get rid of your layer lines completely. So here, I'll just hold this where you could scan it if you wanted to. But if you go to that website that's not active yet, I think you can, we're not taking orders yet, but I think you can sign up, uh, get on the I'm interested list, and get notified when that uh, is live. Um, Here's a little peace sign. And so there you can see the layer lines on that. So I mentioned, and there's the back with the build plate texture. I mentioned that the Flashforge works fine in Linux, just running under Wine. There's also Orca Slicer. Flashforge works with the Orca Slicer, and they have Flashforge profiles for that. So that's mostly what I've been using. This is a Gemini symbol. It's got the little Gemini symbol on the top, but just really cool. I've been amazed at the quality for small detailed stuff that I've been able to get from this printer. Anyway, well, I've got a couple more to show you. Here's a little bitty kitty cat. And he's printed where his back legs are like not extruded as much as his front legs to give him a little depth. And then here's another kitty cat. So been having a lot of fun. Totally falling down the world, or fall it into the world of 3D printing. And so if you'd like to see more content on 3D printing, or modeling or slicing, like if you get a printer and have questions, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. And if you'd like to see more content on like how to model in Blender for 3D printing, or how to model in FreeCAD for 3D printing, or how to slice in Orca Slicer, etc., let me know. I'll make some videos on that as well. So down that rabbit hole, I'm sure I will make videos anyway. But been having a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe so you don't miss future content. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.